Hi, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Some Soothings. This is Season 2, Episode 8. My name is Joshua. I am a musician and glitch and sound artist. And Some Soothings is a 30-minute weekly live stream in which I'll share and discuss art and poetry and music and history. There'll be occasional laughs, a lot of earnestness, and a little bit of live improvised music. It's an outlet. This is a place for me to work out ideas aloud and sort of through some screen-mediated way, connect with you all. Endeavor to be really peaceful, really vulnerable, calming if possible. But we're going to take a really broad definition of the word soothing, and we're not going to ignore the seriousnesses of our current moment. So welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Some quick housekeeping. We're archiving these episodes in the IGTV in my profile, so I'll get this up as quick as I can in case there's something weird with the stream or anything gets janky. If you want to learn more about anything that we talk about, there is an info doc that is pinned in the pinned comment down below. I can't really clock the comments as we're going, but I am recording them, and so I'll check them out later on tonight when I am drinking my nightly glass of sand. And I'll respond to any questions or comments at the top of next week's show. Okay, thanks for hanging with us, buddies. Let's get going. Let's look at some art. Alright, so today we are looking at selections from Diana L. Hadid's show, Falcon's Fortress. This was up at the Marianne Boesky Gallery here in Chelsea in 2017. Diana Hadid was born in Syria, in Aleppo, in 1981, and currently lives and works in Brooklyn, here in New York. She studied sculpture and art history at Kent State and got her MFA from Virginia Commonwealth down in Richmond. Al Hadid has shown work at the Whitney, the Hammer Museum in LA, the Bronx Museum, the Frist, the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts at NYU Abu Dhabi. And recently, Al Hadid has shown these really large, public commission sculptural works at Madison Square Park and at Williams College. And this is very cool. Has a mosaic piece up at the 74th Street subway. It's a permanent installation down in the subway that I really can't wait to check out. Once that's the thing again. Okay, let's talk about this work. So the slideshow below is displaying a piece and then a close-up detail of the same work. So there's the wall hangings and these sculptural works. The three wall-based works are called Woven City, Valley of Poverty, Valley of Nothingness. And the two sculptural works are entitled The Candle Clock in the Citadel and The Candle Clock of the Swordsman. You may have noticed that I am referring to these as wall-based works, not as paintings, because they're not exactly paintings. The materials in use are gypsum, fiberglass, steel, plaster, gold leaf, copper leaf, painter's tape, and pigment. And then the materials that are being used in the sculptures are gypsum, fiberglass, brass, copper, steel, concrete, foam, wood, plaster, lead, bronze, metal leaf, and pigment. All this work is produced in 2017, which seems really prolific and kind of remarkable to me. Let's spend a second on the process of how these paintings are created. I'm just going to call them paintings because I just kind of can't really bring myself to say wall-based objects over and over again. Also, I'm a little bit guessing about this process. So I watched a couple of videos and I read a bunch of interviews, but never got a totally complete description of the whole technique. So grain of salt on this a little bit, but I think I got the basics. What's cool is that it's all additive. When we're looking at these, you might think that Al Hadid paints and then cuts holes or something like that, or etches out or something. But it's not. It's all built up. So she coats a surface with this non-stick substance and then paints on that. Big gestures, accumulating layers of brush strokes, letting drips slide down the surface. For this work, Al-Hadid is like rotating the canvas as she goes, so the gravity acts on the drips in like different directions, so it makes like this kind of like lattice of paint drips. And then when the image is complete, she coats the whole thing with a hardening agent and then like peels it off. It's totally remarkable. So it like peels off the nonstick surface and it leaves like all these big open gaps and these like drips. They're hardened. In the video linked in the info doc, there's this like really dramatic moment of Al-Hadid and 3 assistants that like peel this thing off. It's really terrifying and very amazing. Definitely recommend that. These are so cool in person. The three-dimensionality of them, the materiality. There's like a sense of weightlessness to them. There's like an anti-gravity in the work. And I feel like the sculptures kind of operate in a similar way, with these drips and strangenesses and like unlikely physics and textures are foregrounded. But for me, I find the sculptural work like really heavy. It's like dense and commanding. And then of course, like in the show, Al-Hadid presents them together. So, you know, I think it's a very intentional play with that like density and gravity and the airiness of the paintings of the wall-based work. And you can totally feel that in the gallery, like the pull towards the center, the sculpture in the center, and then the line around the side of the wall objects. It's cool. What are we seeing though? For these paintings, Al-Hadid drew inspiration from a 14th century painter named Nasuh, Nasuh, who traveled with the Ottoman army, painting panoramic views of like land and cities, Istanbul, Baghdad, Aleppo, which, you know, coincidentally is also not coincidentally, I guess, Aleppo is the artist's birthplace. So I think that resonates. And I think that like we see this in the work, like this tracks, like these wall-based works look map-ish, or like an overhead view of a landscape or a city. I'm sort of stalling to see if I get one to come around here on the slideshow. But I think that, yeah, we look at this and we can see that as an inspiration. There's this, you know, perhaps a river that cuts through this, and then some buildings, and then mountains in the background there. So that's that. The sculptures are drawn from a book by a 12th century inventor named Al-Jazari, and the book is entitled Book of Knowledge of Ingenious Mechanical Devices. Among many other things, the book also holds diagrams and explanations for creating these candle clocks, in which a system of weights and the burning of candles measures the passage of time. So apparently candles burn at like a pretty steady rate, so these are like early timekeeping devices. And so I feel like with these sculptures, Al-Hadid is like creating like poetical and obviously experimental or abstracted interpretations of these ancient machines. And the one that we're looking at right now, this one, she actually activated it during the show in August 2017, during the solar eclipse. She fired that one up, which I really wish I could have gotten to see that. It seems so cool. Okay, so the provenance here, historic Islamic intellects and creators. And so I can't help but return to this idea that we talked about earlier in the season, just like about how much profundity and science and real wisdom of the Arab world was muted and even like totally erased and eradicated by the Crusades and later colonialism. And so can we read this work as like a kind of unearthing of artifact? Like, is Al-Hadid reanimating, like resurrecting, evoking, in like the spellcasting sense, evoking like ancient objects and wisdoms and ideas and giving them form? And I think that there's like elegy here too. And granted, I have sort of a somber disposition, but like I feel like a real sadness, or gravity. Yeah, I guess just a sadness, a melancholy maybe, in this work. At the very least, there's this sense of the expanse of time and history and the ancestral. So if Al-Hadid is like calling these forms into being, like pulling these objects to us through human memory and time, I feel like that journey and the toll of it is like written upon the work. And so we have like archaeology and artifact, but also elegy, and I think importantly, memorial. All right, Diana Al-Hadid, y'all. More info in our info doc. She's on Instagram. Follow her on Instagram. She has there's a really great video of her in her studio right now. Not right now, from like a couple weeks ago. Up on Instagram, so yeah, follow her. Up next, we have a new segment on the show. This is called Ask Yourself. A few weeks ago, I wrote up a bunch of, frankly, like kind of probing questions, and then I made this like little piece of code to randomize them. And so I don't know what question I'm going to get. So I'll push the button, question will come up, and I will interrogate myself. I suppose if you so desire, you can use it as a prompt for yourself as well. So let's see what we get. Oh, that's a nice one. Okay. Let's do it. Hey, buddy. What is going well? Wow, Guy, thanks for asking. What's going well? Basketball is going pretty well. Free throw percentage is still like hovering between like 65 and 70%, and that's not going anywhere. That's not getting much better. But, we've been working on this fadeaway jumper, and it's like kind of cooking. It's really, we're starting to hit it pretty regularly. So, fadeaway jumper is going well. Riding the ferry is going well. We're not taking public transit, subways and buses, but, taking the ferry to a protest in Manhattan has been like really pleasurable. So that, riding ferries, I think that's actually a thing that when this is done, or when I'm back riding like public transit again more regularly, I think I'll still take ferries. This is going to be a thing that I'm going to carry with me, I think, out of this. The ferries are going well. Friends is going well. Friends are going well. I feel like even though it's been, obviously hard and we don't get to be in physical proximity very often, keeping in touch with folk. I've been keeping in regular touch with my loved ones, and that feels really good. I feel really grateful that, whether it's like asynchronous or FaceTime or in a park with a mask on, like I'm still getting the chance to spend time with my buddies. That's going really well. And in fact, in some cases, there's like relationships where, not like making new friends, but maybe a new closeness that's come out of this time, which I'm profoundly grateful for that. So, that seems pretty good. Those are 3 things that are going well: jumpers, boats, and friends. Yeah, same here. Those 3 things are going well for me too. Okay, up next on the show we have Radical History Snacks, which features like cool old food or highlights like a moment in the people's history. Today we're looking at the Silent Parade of 1917. On July 28, 1917, 10,000 black folk marched in New York City from 27th Street to Madison Square Park, about 2 miles down 5th Avenue. The event was organized by the NAACP alongside church and community leaders to protest increasing violence directed towards black people kind of across the nation. The backdrop here is grim. It's the East St. Louis Massacre. So in late May and early July 1917, East St. Louis, Illinois saw a series of really violent race riots by white people who murdered, and it's really unclear, the estimate is between 40 and 250 Black Americans. Another 6,000 people were left homeless. Police stood by as a mob of white men and women set fire to this predominantly Black section of the city, destroying homes and businesses and neighborhoods. And then as Black folk tried to flee the fires, they were attacked and shot at. Really, really grim. Scale of violence places this among the worst racial massacres in U.S. history. And so this horrifying event prompts the NAACP to rally folk and make a really grand public statement. Participants are directed to march silently. And folks come out. 10,000 men, women, and children wordlessly parading down Fifth Avenue to the beat of a muted drum. And then there's 20,000 bystanders that are watching, and mostly Black bystanders watching from the sidewalks, holding signs demanding justice. At this scale, so it's the first public protest against racial violence. At the scale, this is massive. And so this is cool. We have a little bit of footage and some photos from the march. So I'm going to roll that clip in a sec. And while it loops, I'm going to read from this flyer that's been preserved by the New York Historical Society. It's a flyer to promote the protest. So yeah, I'm going to just read the whole thing, even though it's a little bit long because it's just really potent. So here we go. Let's do this. We march because by the grace of God and the force of truth, the dangerous, hampering walls of prejudice and inhuman injustices must fall. We march because we want to make impossible a repetition of Waco, Memphis, and East St. Louis by arousing the conscience of the country and to bring the murderers of our brothers, sisters, and innocent children to justice. We march because we deem it a crime to be silent in the face of such barbaric acts. We march because we are thoroughly opposed to Jim Crow, segregation, discrimination, disenfranchisement, lynching, and the host of evils that are forced upon us. It's time that the Spirit of Christ should be manifest in the making and execution of laws. We march because we want our children to live in a better land and enjoy fairer conditions than have fallen to our lot. We march because the growing consciousness and solidarity of race, coupled with sorrow and discrimination, have made us one, a union that shall never be dissolved in spite of shallow-brained agitators, screaming pundits, and political tricksters who secure a fleeting popularity and uncertain financial support by promoting the disunion of a people who ought to consider themselves as one. We march in memory of our butchered dead. They died to prove our worthiness to live. We live in spite of death shadowing us and ours. We prosper in the face of the most unwarranted and illegal oppression. Be in line on Saturday and show that you have not become callous to the sorrows of your race. May God bless you and every marcher. Whew. So, Silent Parade, y'all. A really potent moment in American activist history. A little more info in the info doc. Up next, we have Some Soothings, our Some Soothing special feature. This week's special feature is Skunks and Funk. So each week on Some Soothings, we take a brief look at organizations or an organizer that's doing work that we admire. I will have researched and donated to the org already, and like in sharing it with you all, I'm encouraging you, if you're able, to consider donating as well. So we're looking at Common Cause. In their own words, quote, Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. We work to create open, honest, and accountable government that serves the public interest, promotes equal rights, opportunity, and representation for all, and empowers all people to make their voices heard in the political process. We empower citizens and help build a democracy that is powered by its people through research, public education, and innovative programs. To increase public understanding of the democratic process and, where appropriate, the need for change. To empower citizens and promote their effective participation in all aspects of the democratic process at the local, state, and federal level, and to empower citizens to hold their government accountable. Focus areas include creating an ethical and open government, reducing money's influence in government, ensuring fair districting and reflective democracy, expanding voting rights and election integrity, promoting free speech and accountability in media, and protecting the Constitution and the courts. So I don't want to seem like wildly alarmist, but I do think that there are aspects of our democracy that are currently under like a kind of unprecedented threat. So, between now and the upcoming election, I'm going to be, trying to throw some money and resources at orgs that are, trying to protect those institutions. So, Common Cause, doing that work. And the donate link is in the pinned comment down there. Let's play some music. What do we got? Great. Maybe like 5 or 6 minutes of some improvised electronic music. I'll see you back here in a few. Cool, that was pretty fun. Thanks for listening. Let's close the poem. This is just a little autumn, a little fall, just a little friend by the Estonian poet Juhan Liiv. It's called Leaves Fall. A gust roused the waves, leaves blew into the water. The waves were ash gray, the sky tin gray, ash gray, the autumn. It was good for my heart. There, my feelings were ash gray, the sky tin gray, ash gray, the autumn. The breath of wind brought cooler air. The waves of morning brought separation. Autumn and autumn befriended each other. All right, buds, thanks for hanging. Back here next week, same time, same place. In the meantime, take really good care of each other. Take really good care of yourselves. Thanks for watching. Good night.